The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I'm one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
And the other host, Warren Van.
It is episode 80 of the Warren and Bradley Show. I don't know why anyone cares which episode it is, but we're just rolling along. 80's a nice round number. It's some sort of milestone.
Have our downloads gone back up now that we're back on iTunes? No?
No.
No bounce back in the ratings?
Well, the thing is with that, I don't know how all this works. I don't know what the deal is with iTunes or anything, but I did it in such a way, for those of you who don't know, we got booted off of iTunes for some reason. I'm not sure why. Our feed, our RSS feed was still working, so if you were subscribed through iTunes, you were directly connected to our feed, so you were still getting episodes, but if you tried searching for us on iTunes, we no longer existed. But anyway, I was able to resubmit our feed to iTunes in such a way that we didn't have to change the URL of the feed, so people who are subscribed are still subscribed. But it changes it so, like, old searches for us, we don't show up there. It's a different iTunes ID. All our reviews are gone. So I don't know if people who might have listened to the show in the past who then thought the show disappeared are
Come
still
back and look for
will
it.
be able to find it again. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know if we'll build more again. At this point, it doesn't really matter. We've got our core faithful that listens every week.
A very, very dense, small
Very
core.
It's like it's like the middle of a black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks everything into it. Suck being the operative word, but we're doing fine. Yeah, I'm recovering from some ass problems that I was having. I don't know how detailed we want to get
Did you
into
have a
this.
fissure?
But no. It was actually the internal workings more than the anus itself.
You had some GI problems?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I was trying to pinpoint what the issue is, because I've normally, through most of my life, have had pretty much an iron stomach where I've almost never get an upset stomach, almost never have any gastrointestinal sorts of problems.
Yeah.
But for almost a week, basically everything I would eat, I would shit immediately. And not nice. We had the stool chart at one point.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the stool chart was called. The something stool chart.
Yeah.
Mine was on the lower end of the spectrum, more liquid than solid.
Yeah.
That's probably enough about that.
Now you're more solid? Is that what you're saying?
Now it's come back. It was like I had dysentery or something. And so I wasn't keeping any of my food and getting the proper nutrients from my food for quite some time. I was getting very weak, dizzy.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't good. Constantly upset stomach.
Maybe you had some sort of stomach bug.
But it lasted for almost a week, which seems
I've
way
had something
too
for the
long.
last, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been, that severe, but I definitely have had weird stomach things going on.
Yeah.
And I can't quite pinpoint it, and I've been, tired, and it's worn me out.
Well, I was wondering if it could be because of my change of diet, but I've been eating this way for several weeks, and the stuff I'm eating is fairly benign. It's not like...
Yeah, it's that stuff that isn't going to upset your stomach. You're not eating a lot of, jalapenos.
No,
and
or curry.
Yeah,
and
curry.
Like that. It should be fine. But anyway, kind of recovering from that. So I wasn't getting out much during the week, just kind of... I was still working and then just collapsing at home. But I have
Shitting all over yourself.
Shitting all over myself, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But I have a few little things that I can mention. On Friday, when I was driving home from work... Now... I'm sure some of our listeners might be aware, but those from other regions in the country might not. In Bellingham, there is a naked bike ride every year.
Oh, yeah.
And I was not aware... I was peripherally aware that there are people who get on their bikes and ride around naked in Bellingham. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing it for.
Yeah, because they're rebels or something.
Well, is it for some cause of some kind?
I don't think so. I just think it's woo, we're fun.
Look at me.
Yeah.
But... I didn't know when it was taking place, but then I was driving home from work on Friday, getting on Holly Street, which is one of the main thoroughfares through downtown in Bellingham, and there was just crazy traffic, and I was trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Like, I would stop at a red light, and traffic was just hardly moving at all. So, of course, getting annoyed, like, what the hell's going on? And then finally, as I got up further, there were a bunch of naked people on bicycles just filling the entire 4 lanes. And that's just kind of a weird image to come home to. You know, you worked all day, you're tired, I was kind of sick. It's just very surreal to see a bunch of naked people on bicycles filling 4 lanes of traffic.
Yeah. There are that many of them, huh?
There were a lot. I'd say, I don't know, close to 100. Not all of them were completely naked. A lot of chicks with just their boobs out.
Yeah.
A lot of their boobs were painted with various designs and motifs. Some dudes that did have their cock and balls out there.
Yeah.
And when you're on a bicycle seat, I don't know. It just...
You get sodomized by the bicycle
It's
seat.
fucking weird.
Yeah.
I mean, fine, be naked. I don't understand. Is this to protest nudity laws, which, as far as I know, aren't necessarily that egregious around here? Like,
No, it's the same thing. Just like, it's like, oh, I'm rebelling.
yeah,
But then you're rebelling in a place where no one gives a fuck.
yeah.
So it's just like, how rebellious are you being?
Well, and they're
it's not
doing
like
it-
you're living in communist East Germany and you're like fighting against
Yeah.
the Stasi or something. You're like just like riding a bicycle around being like, I'm a badass, and the cops are like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. I know
Well,
you're a tool.
They were doing it right at 5 o'clock too. I think purposely to annoy
Yeah.
people who were trying to get home from work. But
Oh, they're such rebels, you know.
yeah, it was
The
all right.
stupid bourgeoisie blew their minds.
Yeah, there were a couple nice boobies, but other than that, I don't know. I think I don't know if it was this incident or something else that put me in mind of this. Now, tell me if you've ever thought of this, Warren.
Okay.
The other day, I had to get some batteries for my mouse. And actually, it was when we were recording
Yeah, I
last
remember
week.
that.
I was like,
Yeah.
damn, my mouse went dead, so I had to go. And I got some AAA batteries.
Yeah.
And then I had some other device that needed a D battery. The
Yeah.
biggest cylindrical battery that you can get. After
I'm
that, you
familiar
get
with
into
it, yeah.
weird, like 9 volts and weird other batteries. But the basic cylinder batteries, AAA, AA. Is there an A? I can't remember if there's an A.
I don't know.
Basically, the smallest is a AAA, the largest is a D. What else has that sort of sizing that you can think of right now?
Like bras.
Yeah.
That's weird, isn't it?
Isn't that weird? Because D's the biggest. And I think there's a AAA, or there's at least a AA bra size, which is basically just like a swath of fabric that has no cup in it whatsoever.
Well, I assume when they started getting those batteries, right, at some point they started having these cylindrical batteries that Duracell
Yeah.
was making, and they must have had like the standard size, which must have been the A.
Yeah.
And then they must have got, you know, a B and a C
Yeah.
and a D, right? And then they were like, some new electronics need these smaller batteries, so they went, you know, AA, AAA.
Well, it makes sense if you start with the AA or the A, but see, logically, I would think, oh, well, the biggest is the number one.
But the weird thing is,
so that should be A. But they decided, no, people
Well,
know bra sizes, so we're gonna size our batteries
This is the
according
thing,
to bra
it depends
size.
on which direction you go in the first place, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that they went with the B first.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, we have the standard A battery, we'll have the B battery.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of anticipated that they were going to need the AA eventually.
Maybe.
So like, what are we going to do with this? Because we can't go above A. So they're like, we'll go AA.
Do you think that's the same thing that happened with bra sizes? The standard was the A back in the day, and then they couldn't have imagined that people would have larger or smaller boobs than A boobs. I don't think that's the case. I think most people had big jugs back then. Do you think
So what do you
bra
think
size has
what do you think the
changed
most
much?
popular bra size then?
I think B probably. A or B? B probably.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on where. Supposedly in England they have giant breasts. They have the largest average breast size.
Do they use the same sizing?
I don't know. I don't know if
'Cause they
there's
went with
a
shoes,
special
right?
Euro. Their sizing is slightly different with shoes.
It's way different, isn't it?
Well, there's Euro size and UK size.
Yeah.
Euro size is like, 40,
Oh, the Euro size is like
44.
40, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the UK size is...
UK size is the half sizes like we have, but they're not the same
Yeah.
sizes. This is all very interesting.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just come up with like the. I guess it makes sense for a sizing system though. It depends what you're starting from.
I just like D's the biggest, both in batteries and bras. D is the biggest.
Well, eventually you'd think they might come up with something that would need an E. They'd have to build an E
Well, they do have E bras, I think, but that's like crazy freak
for
people.
extreme situations.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe there's an E Duracell out there
It's possible.
that you just have to special order it, right?
You have to put that in the bra to keep the, I don't know, the tension straps holding
But a
it
lot
up.
of this stuff is just like custom, and so we end up with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do we have the denominations of money we have? Why are we using,
Because we were sort of copying the British system, and then...
But yeah. So it's like, it's just custom, and we have these pennies that we don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's just like, you start with the framework and then you just build up from it. It's not like you ever get to start and plan your society from the beginning, right? Because you wouldn't come up with these systems. If you had all the batteries, you'd just be like, the 1 battery, 2 battery, 3 battery.
It's like the metric system versus our standard units of measurement. The metric system is when people took all the shit that had just kind of amalgamated together and went, okay, let's do something that actually makes sense based on tenths and decimals.
Yeah.
That's when you logically plan something out, or when you plan a city from the ground up in a grid system, or this is going to be for cars to move through, instead of it just sort of accreting together. You see a city like LA that was planned for the car. It's just a grid,
a lot of
north,
long,
south, east, west.
just straight roads.
Yeah, as opposed to San Francisco or something like that.
Or as opposed to like London.
Yeah.
Where you get on the road and it changes names a bunch of times, just curves around. And you have no idea where
and
you are.
the road's like 6 feet wide, and it's impossible to get anywhere.
You get on a road and you're like, where am I now? And the road changes names.
Yeah.
You're going back the other direction that you were going in the first place. You go over some river. You don't know where you are. I don't know how anyone finds their way around that. But of course, our system, even here, we have a problem with that, though, right?
Yeah.
Because our system wasn't planned out perfectly because we're 4 cities that came together.
Yeah.
So we have this
a
weird
bunch of weird one-way streets and
Yes.
grids that don't match up.
and
all
like
sorts of crazy
5 and
crap.
6 way intersections and stuff, which
Yeah.
makes things kind of confusing. Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know what... I think I was just driving around and I went, bra sizes and batteries. And I wrote that... All I
What
wrote
else
down in my
is?
little notebook
Can you think of
was-
anything else that's like
No,
that?
I couldn't think of anything. I'm sure maybe listener Jed or somebody else will point something out.
Yeah, I'm.
If
He's coughing.
if
Thinking
you, the
that.
listener, know of any other sizing chart in which A is the smaller end of the spectrum and D is the bigger end of the spectrum, let us know at podcast@warrenandbradley.com.
Please
We'll mention
do.
you on the air. So last night I went out with your girlfriend.
No, yeah.
Because you didn't want to go out.
No.
Your girlfriend and your new roommate. Warren's living situation has changed.
Yeah.
He's not living with IT guy John anymore.
IT guy John told me to hit the road.
Kicked him out of the house. Warren is now living with his girlfriend and her roommate. Seems fine, I guess, from what I can tell.
It's livable. I can live anyway,
Yeah.
I can get by.
Yeah, well, we discussed that as well.
I'm resilient.
She was very upset that you would not move your shit into the dresser she cleaned out for you. And I was trying to explain to her, it's like, did he have a dresser in his old house? She went, no. Like, what makes you think he's going to use one now? But I cleaned the whole thing out. I'm like, yeah, Warren needs a nest of rags on the ground and just some boxes to throw clothes in.
Yes,
It'll be fine.
that's what I need. I need it to be simple and easy like that. Yeah.
But anyway, I was out with your girlfriend, her friend, a couple other friends, and it was a very emotional night. Apparently,
Yeah.
There's a lot of girl talk about problems at work and all these things, and it was interesting, just the contrast between. I don't know. It was just striking me how men think and how women think and how we deal with issues and what's important, what's not important. But at one point, we won't get into all of it, but your girlfriend was crying at one point and, being comforted by her friends. And, I've seen plenty of girls cry.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've been the reason for these girls crying.
Most of the time, yeah.
And for some reason, when your girlfriend was crying, I started kind of freaking out internally. And I don't think anyone noticed anything, but your girlfriend does not look like my mom. But for some reason, the way she was crying triggered this weird latent memory in me of my
your mom
crying.
crying?
Because my
Yeah.
mom cried a lot when I was a kid. There were a lot of issues going on a lot of the time. And I remember being very upset about that as a child. And I had this weird thing when your girlfriend was crying where I was like... and I think we've talked before how I don't like to feel that I've been affected by my past, even though obviously I have been.
Yeah.
And this is this weird wake-up call where I was getting this strange response to the sight of your girlfriend crying, where I was like, got all anxious and weird, and these strange feelings from like when I was 8 years old were flooding back. It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, you should see a therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you should, yeah.
Maybe we'll get to that one of these days.
That would be a good move, I think.
Trying to look through my list, the famous list again. There was this horrible show that I went to last night after I was supposed to meet a friend from Seattle, was coming up to go to the show. And so I left your girlfriend crying and her roommate and went to this place with this horrible white hip-hop dude.
Oh, yeah.
Was rapping. And I don't know. I'm not the greatest judge of hip-hop. He seemed
so modest.
He seemed to know how to rhyme. I don't know.
Yeah.
He sounded all right. But I actually started paying attention to some of the lyrics. And I wrote down one. I don't know what the song was supposedly about because it seemed to be just all over the place. But at one point he said, "I don't have all the answers, but I know what it's like to watch my moms battle cancer." And I found it so amusing that while the show was going on and this line like leapt out at me, I just started going and laughing completely uncontrollably, but sort of trying to stifle it, but not succeeding in stifle it. And of course, I'm just there by myself. My friend had run off somewhere, and I was standing by this table with these, I don't know, 20-something girls. Not 20 girls, but girls in their 20s
Yeah.
by this table.
Approximately 20-something
And it was
girls.
just me, like, watching a little white dude rapping and me going... And just, I don't know.
That's everyone looks at it and go, that guy needs therapy.
Yeah, and that's...
Yeah.
If you could step outside yourself every once in a while and see you creepily laughing in a
At
corner
some
while watching...
poor white rapper talking about his dying mother.
mom's...
Yeah.
His mom's...
You're just
battling
laughing
with
at
cancer.
him.
And there's something about his dad getting fired from the lumber mill or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, my.
I guess every rapper has to have the, it was tough coming up sort of song.
Yeah, I think that's obligatory,
But when you're
right?
some white dude from the suburbs, it's
or from the lumber town or
from
something.
the lumber town.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that was interesting. I also had a question for you, Warren.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a mystery that I think the Hardy Boys would have had trouble tackling.
Oh, yeah, we were fans of the Hardy Boys back in the day.
Oh yeah. Remember they had the new series of the Hardy Boys, the
Yeah.
updated, like cool.
That's when we
version?
read the case files.
Yeah, the case files.
They're very cool.
Remember
And there's a
when
lot
it-
of, like, violence in them.
Yeah, didn't Lola, their girlfriend, get killed or something? Like
Yeah,
that?
there's, like, vans blowing up, and they're, like, taking on
they're always
terrorists and stuff.
defusing bombs and things.
Yeah, it wasn't like the old Hardy Boys that were just, like,
With their
finding a
crew
clue
cuts
in the
and
clock or whatever.
flashlights and stuff. Yeah, it was interesting. But anyway, a day at work, I think it was Wednesday. It was a pretty hot day. I had been working all day long. And when I'm working, I keep my wallet in my truck because
Yeah.
I don't keep it in my pants when I'm working.
We're not going to buy anything.
No. And at one point, I got back into my truck. Now, this is going to freak you out, Warren.
Okay.
My wallet was on the seat where I left it. And I was going to go and get a bottle of water when I went to lunch.
Yeah.
I had brought my own lunch, but I wanted some water because I was hot. And went into the convenience store, grabbed my wallet before I went to the convenience store. It was soaking wet. Soaking wet.
That's weird.
Open it up, all the money soaking wet, credit cards soaking wet, little receipts and pieces of paper.
Yeah.
It is as though it had been like thrown into a bucket of water or just put into the shower. Or I've occasionally left it in my pants when it's gone through the wash cycle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I have to take everything out and like wring it all out
Yeah.
and let it all dry. Now, there was no water anywhere else in the truck. There was no puddle of water under the wallet at all. It was just the wallet, and it was soaking wet. And it drove me insane because I could not for the life of me figure out how this happened.
That's a weird one.
Isn't that fucking
I
strange?
can't come up with anything. Nothing was taken out of the wallet?
Nothing taken out of the wallet. It was right where I had left it. And there was hundreds of dollars in the wallet, too.
Yeah.
All soaking wet. What the fuck?
Was the truck locked?
No, but it was like I'm parked. No one's around. And it's parked within like 20 feet of where I'm working.
So you most likely would have seen someone if they came
I would have
over.
seen somebody around. There was nobody on the job site. It was just me. I was there by myself.
I don't know.
What the fuck?
That's a real tough one.
Just some really odd poltergeist who's like, and wets your wallet and puts it back in your truck.
It's odd when you can't even come up with a theory for things.
Nothing. I was thinking, okay, maybe did my water bottle leak somehow? But my water bottle was on the floor of the truck, and it was closed tight. It's one of those SIG like aluminum water bottles with the screw on top. There's been times where I've had my wallet in my pants and I've sweated so much while working that it's gotten wet, but that's just kind of moist. This was soaking wet.
I have no idea.
Oh my God.
So the only thing could happen is someone could have taken it out, put it in like a bucket of water, and then put it back?
Yeah.
But why would someone do that?
Why would someone do that? Why wouldn't...
And they would have been really sneaky, apparently, to get by.
Yes, because how could I not have noticed them? If they're going to fuck with my wallet, why not take the money out of it? There was no one... It's so irritating to me. I hate things that I cannot explain, and I cannot explain this. If you know what happened to my wallet, write to podcast.
Yeah, if you have any theories.
WarrenBradley.com.
A lot of times with things like this, though, what will eventually happen is it'll happen again, and you'll have more context for it, and you'll be like... Oh.
Well, the only thing it reminded me of is one time when I got really drunk and I peed in my clothes basket.
Yeah.
And then the next day I was like, why are my clothes wet? And it drove me crazy. And then I finally realized that I'd urinated on them.
That's one theory.
But I don't think I got drunk and peed on my wallet.
In the morning? First thing in the morning?
While I was working. No. It was bad, though, because I went into the convenience store with the soaking wet money and like, here you go. Gave it to the woman. She's like... gave me this really weird look. I don't know what she thought.
Well, there's nothing worse than like mystery liquid like that, though, right? Because you don't know what it is. She doesn't. Well, you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It can be,
I piss my pants,
or runny shit. Who knows?
Well, I mean, money is gross enough if you think about it, and then if it's soaking wet, I could see her trying to surreptitiously smell the money to see what the liquid was on it. So all day long, as I was trying to purchase it, I went through the cigarette drive-through to get my cartons of cigarettes.
The drive-through?
Yeah. And the Native American woman who was selling the cigarettes, again, was like, gave me this weird look like I was some sort of deviant freak who's like, like wetting my money and giving it out to
doing
people.
Something weird, like, people who drive through the drive-through, like, with no pants on or something. You're trying to get your jollies.
Like ejaculating on the money
and then
something.
giving it to the woman that works at the by the casino selling cigarettes.
And drive away. It's a victimless crime.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think we'll ever get to the bottom of this. No. Seems unlikely.
It was fucking weird.
Unless maybe the guilty party's listening right now.
I know.
It's a super fan that's just trying to fuck with you.
Yeah, maybe. Some sort of strange stalking.
Then we'd have to get, like, the Hardy Boys involved. Or someone. A PI of some sort.
The mystery of the wet wallet.
Yeah. Why are they doing this?
All right, let's do Celebrity Minute.
Okay.
You can recover from your choking fit there.
Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
All right, Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. Our top story this week, and a sad story. Paris Jackson attempted suicide. I'm sure you must have heard about this during the week.
I was at my sister's house. Mm-hmm. I was, holding the new baby. I was very excited about, and this came on. And
you
I was
didn't
like,
drop the baby, did you?
No, I didn't throw the baby out the window, and I was so shocked. I can't handle this. It's too exciting.
We're making light of it a little bit, but it's a sad story. Apparently, she tried to commit suicide on Wednesday. She took a bunch of pills and slashed her wrist with a meat cleaver or something like that. But then I guess called a suicide hotline after the attempt. And apparently this isn't the first time she's tried something like this, according to a close source to the family. She, I guess, also was a cutter at some point.
Yeah.
Had some self-destructive urges. What kind of is odd to me about this story is the fact that some people seem shocked or at all surprised that maybe she has some mental problems after being raised by Michael Jackson.
And a complete nut job.
She spent her childhood wearing a mask with her brother Prince Michael and blanket.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen to her?
Yeah, she didn't grow up in the healthiest environment.
They found, I think her and Prince Michael found her dad's body, or saw her dad's body when he was dead before Dr. Conrad Murray shooed them out of the room. There's all this new shit. There's another lawsuit going on against the estate of Michael Jackson about more molestation charges and things like that. So all this weird shit about all the drug use that he had gone through, not to mention the crazy circumstances of their childhood, which, I mean, I don't know a lot of details on, but you can only imagine what that must have been like. Who knows who their actual father is, because it's obviously not Michael Jackson. I don't know.
That's a lot for a kid to deal with.
Yeah, she's 15.
It's a lot for any of us to deal with, even in our adult age. Yeah.
Well, major trauma, and I'm sure she's going to need lots of counseling. The thing that bugs me about the story is that because she's Michael Jackson's daughter, it's going to be sensationalized. People are going to be, trying to shove cameras in her faces all the time. And she was going to be in a film, which supposedly she's still going to do. but I don't think someone like her in her state should be in this media culture right now. That seems like the worst thing.
She should definitely have like a bag over her head again.
Well, I don't know about that, but she should just be kind of obscure.
Yeah, definitely. It would probably be healthier. Like, there was somebody that wasn't, crazy involved.
Yeah.
They might be like, all right, we're not going to live in Hollyweird anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to move somewhere else. You're going to enroll in the school. We're just going to like have you have a normal existence, and we're going to make sure things turn out okay.
Sad thing is, what are the options though? Because she's being, I guess her legal guardian is it Katherine Jackson, the grandmother?
Oh, those people are a bunch of greedy monsters.
They're all crazy.
Yeah.
And then I guess she's been getting closer with her biological mother, Debbie Rowe, lately. But she is a woman who thought it would be a good idea to be artificially inseminated by some man's sperm and pretend that she was Michael Jackson's baby mama.
There's not like a lot of good options
No.
for her, right? There isn't like a stable guy around in a stable family that can just take those kids in and like raise them in a normal way.
And Jermaine and
it's just a bunch of whack jobs.
Yeah, I don't see good things. All right, let's get to everyone's favorite Amanda Bynes. She's keeping up her end of the bargain with some more crazy tweets. Apparently, she now has a crush on Liam Hemsworth. Knowing that he is now single, good. She's going to try to get her crazy claws into him.
I assume the family, who seems to have some sway over him, will...
Yeah, if Chris and Luke stage an intervention to get him to break up with Miley Cyrus, I would think that Amanda Bynes would be even further down on their list of prospective mates for Liam.
But wasn't she sending out tweets to... it wasn't Chris Brown, it was the other guy.
Drake,
right?
Oh, well, this is another part of the story. So, I guess on Tuesday, June 4th, Bynes revealed that she's got her eye on Liam Hemsworth. She said Helmsworth, by the way, his name is Hemsworth, is the most gorgeous man on the face of the earth, other than Tans Watson. I don't know.
She's right. He is more gorgeous.
FYI, she wrote, misspelling the Australian hunk's last name. In 2011, when Hemsworth and Cyrus were on a relationship break, the Catching Fire actor Liam Hemsworth was seen cuddling with Bynes at Truesdale nightclub in West Hollywood.
Oh my.
So obviously he doesn't have the best taste in women. He likes crazy, strange attention whores.
Yeah.
So I think Chris and Luke need to get on their horses and ride over to Liam's place and sit him down again. I don't know. I just imagine them riding horses. And get his head on straight again.
In the Hemsworth / Channing Tatum confusion news.
Yeah.
I did get the latest Us Weekly at the girlfriend's house, and apparently Channing Tatum's getting married too.
Really?
And I looked
to
at
Miley
him.
Cyrus?
Some woman, I don't know who, she's just a generic woman, and I can tell the difference between them now.
Yeah. Well, he
looks way different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next story: Rock Hudson's gay confession secretly recorded by his wife.
Really?
Apparently, Rock Hudson, for those of you who, I don't know, are under the age of 59, was a very famous actor in the 50s who was pretty much openly gay amongst his friends and other people in Hollywood, but not publicly gay. It was back in the time when reporters wouldn't report on that kind of thing.
Yeah, but for years, everyone's known Rock Hudson was gay.
Yeah, everyone knew he was gay, especially because he
he
died of complications due to AIDS.
Yeah.
So especially after that happened, people were like, he was gay. And everyone said, we knew he was gay forever. He was married for 3 years. His wife divorced him because of his gayitude.
Yeah, that'll do it.
But I guess she had hired a private investigator at some point. Investigator Otash.
Investigator Otash?
I think he has a first name.
Just look under Investigator Otash in the white pages and you'll find him.
Fred Otash. I guess Phyllis Hudson, at one point, I don't know if she was trying to gain information because she knew she was going to have to divorce him at some point or something, but she had Frank Otash record this conversation that she had with Rock Hudson, and Hudson was unaware of it. This was in January of 1958. She had a fight with Hudson, which was recorded. At one point, she asked Hudson about a recent series of Rorschach tests that he'd taken. She said...
This is so 50s, isn't it?
Yes. She said, "You told me you saw thousands of butterflies and also snakes. A therapist told me in my analysis that butterflies mean femininity and snakes represent that male penis. I'm not condemning you, but it seems that as long as you recognize your problem, you would want to do something about it." Hudson responded with... Or no, she also complained that he was very speedy with sex with her. She said, "Are you that fast with the boys?" Hudson, then age 32, responded, "Well, it's a physical conjunction." I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. "Boys don't fit, so this is why sex lasts longer."
I don't know what that means.
Are the boys fitting in him, or is he fitting in the boys? I'm not sure which way
Did they
he
get
was
that
going
on
there.
tape?
I don't know. Oh, this was on tape. And then she said, everyone knows that you were picking up boys off the street shortly after we were married. Almost sounds like she was reading through a script to like prompt him for the proper responses, and have continued to do so, thinking that being married would cover up for you. Hudson
It does
countered,
sound fake, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hudson countered, I have never picked up any boys on the street. I have never picked up any boys in a bar. Never. I have never picked up any boys, other than to give them a ride.
So to speak.
Otash, the man behind the explosive recording, spied for a big payday on a huge list of bold-faced names during his day, including Marilyn Monroe and lover John F. Kennedy, Judy Garland, Liberace, Betty Davis, and many others. I'll work for anybody but communists. I'll do anything short of murder, he once said.
That's a 50s quote, too.
Yeah, I like this. This hard-boiled detective getting these incriminating shots of celebrities.
Of all those old-timey, like, actors, and you hear about, right, apparently... You start to think that they were all just gay and bisexual at some point.
Well, even like Cary Grant, who had
right.
sex with a huge amount of women, was also dallying with the good boys every once in a while. And I've read interviews with him. He's like, I prefer the women, but whatever, you know. Like, all right, Cary Grant, that's fine. Yeah, it's weird how that was kind of, and even though we're supposedly more liberal and open now, it would be more of a scandal now. Or more would be made of it. Back then, people just kind of kept things quiet, and it was, Yeah,
it's a weird dynamic, isn't it?
Speaking of suicide, actor Stephen Fry reveals suicide attempt in 2012.
Oh, no. We like Stephen Fry.
Yeah, we do like Stephen Fry. British actor and writer Stephen Fry says he attempted suicide last year while filming abroad. In an interview recorded with comic Richard Herring, Fry said he took a huge number of pills with vodka and was found unconscious by his producer in his hotel room. In the podcast interview, parts of which were available on the BBC website Wednesday, Fry said the suicide attempt made his body convulse so much that he broke 4 ribs. He did not give any more details, but tweeted Wednesday he is now fine. Fry suffers from bipolar disorder. He's been open in the past about discussing that and also supports charity for mental health issues. So he said he wanted to be open about his problems. He also apparently attempted suicide in 1995 after quitting a West End play.
Bipolar disorder, that's a bad thing.
Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, I know he's currently getting therapy, and his mental health has been something that he's tried to take care of through the years. Hopefully he will continue to do so. Because I like Stephen Fry.
Bipolar is like a chronic problem, but if you stay on top of it,
it's livable.
And you stay on top of medication and you're being treated, you can like get through it and you can survive. And yeah.
So we wish the best to Stephen Fry. John Malkovich saves a bleeding man's life.
I wonder if the bleeding was related to him saving his life, or if he just happened to be bleeding at the same time.
This is from Us Magazine. John Malkovich comes to the rescue Thursday of saving a man's life on a Toronto street. According to CBC Toronto News, the 59-year-old actor, currently starting in the Giacomo variations at the Elgin Theatre, was walking when he heard a cry for help. The man, 77-year-old Jim Walpole, reportedly tripped, fell, and gashed his neck open, and his wife, Marilyn, 79, begged bystanders for assistance. The way he was spurting, I thought it was the carotid artery, or the jugular, Marilyn told the paper.
Yeah.
Then Malkovich appeared, taking over just like a doctor. He used his scarf to apply pressure to the wound to stop the bleeding. The couple also got help from a local restaurant owner. They were so helpful, so wonderful, Jim recalled. I asked, "What's your name?" He said, "John." And I didn't ask the last name because I didn't figure I'd remember it anyway. Apparently the couple didn't recognize Malkovich, but now that they know who saved them, his wife Marilyn says that she's going to watch all his movies.
Well, that's nice. That's a nice story.
Yeah.
I like that he's like an actor, so he had a scarf at the time.
Of course, yeah. He always has a jaunty scarf.
It is like almost summer.
It is.
So he has a scarf, but he's like, oh, let me use this to save a life.
Maybe that's what the actors wear the scarf for.
The thing is, if I was in Toronto at this time of year, just walking around this happened, I'm not wearing anything more than what I need.
Yeah, you'd have to take off your weird.
I'd have to take off my shirt, or I'd have to take off my baseball cap and try to do it, because there's no way I'm going to have a scarf.
You're not even wearing socks, so that's the
no,
problem.
it's too hot to wear socks.
Yeah.
Or I'd have to get like some newspapers out of a garbage pail or something.
Well, thank God John Malkovich happened by. Our last story for Celebrity Minute. Just a funny story here. Chimp's pics snapped up for $76,000 at auction. This is from the Associated Press. They're askew and out of focus, but a set of photos taken by a talented Russian chimp have sold at auction for £50,000, or $76,000. The blurry images of Moscow's Red Square by simian snapper Mickey, or Miki, were part of a sale of Russian photography at Sotheby's in London. They were snapped up Wednesday by a Russian buyer. Miki, a performer with the Moscow Circus, was trained to take pictures in the 1990s by Russian conceptual artists Vitaly Komar and Alexander Melamid as part of a project to challenge concepts of artistic value. The sale also included images of Miki taken by the duo. Joe Vickery of Sotheby's Contemporary Art Department said, "You know when people say with contemporary art, I could do that? This really talks to that."
That pretty much sums it up, doesn't it?
I love how he's using that as a selling point.
Yeah. You give a chimp a camera, he starts taking a bunch of pictures, and you're like, you sell them for 50,000 pounds.
I'll show Warren some of these pictures. We'll post these on warrenandbradley.com. Here's just a picture of Mickey with his
that's
camera.
A good picture, yeah. That's a picture of him.
He's got his little red shorts on. Here's a blurry thing
St.
of
Basil's
St. Basil's Cathedral.
All blurry, yeah.
And a skew. Here's one of the big clock tower in Red Square.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're out of focus. I could do that.
Well, the thing is, it's on a tripod, too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he just has to press a button?
Yeah, it's an old-timey camera, so I'm sure there's plates in there that he has to adjust the focal length of the lens and everything. And obviously, you can't teach a chimp to do that, I don't think.
No.
You can lead a chimp to a camera, but you can't make him focus.
Well, I know I'm going to take my girlfriend's cat and strap a camera to him, and then I'm going to demand 50,000 pounds.
Well, it's like they put a fucking paintbrush in an elephant's trunk, and he would slop it around on canvas and sell those for hundreds of thousands of dollars too. Can't remember the elephant's name. And they had one of a horse like stomping around on canvas too. Come on.
Oh, you get rich, you become crazy.
All right, that's enough for Celebrity Minute on this week's Warren and Bradley Show.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Sitting at home, bored, alone. You have Netflix streaming, but you don't know what to watch. Well, now you do with Netflix Picks on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Hey, it's Netflix Picks on the Warren and Bradley Show. This week for Netflix Picks, it's not really much of a pick because it's something that if you have Netflix streaming has been shoved into your face over and over and over whenever you log into Netflix.
Yeah.
But there's a new season of Arrested Development, season 4, 7 years after the show was canceled by Fox because it had horrible ratings, even though it was critically acclaimed and kind of a cult hit. The show is back. Warren, I know you were a big fan of the original Arrested Development series.
I was.
I got into it after it had already been off the air for like a year or two and quickly watched all 3 seasons of the original run and loved it.
Well, as a young man, I would watch The Simpsons every Sunday night.
Yeah.
For years and years and years. And
which led into Arrested
That was the
Development.
time, yeah. And then that was the time where I kept watching The Simpsons at that point. The Simpsons was no longer very good at that point.
Yeah.
And I was just determined to keep watching the show. And Arrested Development was on that same night, and I would watch that, and I was like, this show is much better than The Simpsons.
Yeah.
The show's hilarious.
The show, considered a seminal comedy show by many critics, got much more popular after it was canceled, kind of like The Family Guy.
Yeah, it's that phenomenon where it's like people, I mean, it picks up traction later on. Yeah.
The original series is on Netflix as well, series 1 through 3. I highly recommend. The show is, I mean, obviously most of our listeners will be familiar with Arrested Development, and many of them will have watched all the seasons, but it's such a weird, I mean, it's no mystery why it was canceled from network television. It's not the kind of show that can survive. It could have been a cable show maybe if it had been made like 6 years later or something like that. But
it was very weird.
Very weird, very surreal, kind of mean-spirited, but in
the
a good
characters
way.
weren't very sympathetic.
Not sympathetic
There were
characters.
a lot of callbacks to previous things that happened on the
Very
show.
complicated jokes and like Easter eggs and foreshadowing and things. You had to pay attention, which also doesn't fly very well on network television. And so there was a lot of speculation about the new season that was going to take place. They did 15 episodes. the original cast was back, but they had a lot of problems with scheduling because everyone was busy now, and it was
Somehow
hard.
a decade later, people had somewhat moved on with their careers a little bit. Yeah.
And so it was hard to get everyone together at the same time. And so I was kind of worried what this season was going to be like. I didn't know how they were going to try to structure the season, how they were going to make it work. And Mitch Hurwitz, the creator, had decided that he was going to have episodes focusing on certain characters, and they would try to and just sort of weave the story together, and then have certain episodes where everyone kind of interacted.
It would limit the amount of shots they had to have the entire ensemble together.
Exactly. So I've watched the entire season now. Warren, you said you've seen, what, the first
4 or 5, maybe.
4 or 5. So what are your initial impressions so far?
It's not funny so far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fine. I mean, most TV shows I watch, the vast majority of things that are supposed to be funny aren't funny.
Yeah.
And so it's like fine. So it's an okay show.
But this is from you. You did enjoy the first
The show
series.
was actually like made me laugh.
Yeah.
Sometimes most things don't do it. That show was actually really amusing.
Mm-hmm.
And this show has just kind of been like, okay. It's with the characters again.
So it was more just kind of nostalgia to see the characters you like.
It's good to see the characters again. It's just like, it's interesting to see what they're going to do with this concept that they're working with, and see all these actors back again.
It's very interesting. When I first started watching it, it was kind of jarring to me. The first couple episodes, it didn't feel like the original show. And Portia de Rossi, I can never say her name.
Portia de Rossi?
Portia de Rossi. I still haven't been able to determine if she was made up to look like she had
what
excessive
I'm learning
plastic
now
surgery.
is that she was made up to look like that.
Because I've seen pictures other than her being in the show
Yeah.
where she looks normal, just kind of older. But it was kind of jarring and off-putting at first. She looks
It's like
very
a joke
strange.
in the show.
Yeah, very subtle joke in the show. But I was having trouble getting into the season. The first few episodes are kind of slow and kind of weird. There's a lot of setup. So basically the way this whole season is told is there's the central event that takes place, and you get little flashes of it throughout the season, and then finally at the end it all comes together and all these different storylines come together. And some of the setup pays off more than other setups. Some of the stories are more interesting than others. Some of the characters are more interesting than others. And so when you're following a character like George Sr. for an entire episode, I wasn't that into it.
No.
But I do have to say, after my initial qualms, it starts working together and you start appreciating what Hurwitz was trying to do. And eventually some of the old magic was recaptured. There were some really funny jokes. There's a lot of jokes about child molesters that were quite amusing, actually, in the show.
Well, I can see it's funny what he's doing, especially because they're going to drop them all at once.
Yeah, it's a very weird, bold thing to have done.
To make them kind of work as a piece with each other. But that is not the way the show was originally conceived.
No.
And that's not the way... The show worked, and there were arcs that were going through the show, and they were running jokes through the show. But the shows also, stood alone, and they were funny, and they had a denouement at the end.
Exactly.
The regular episodes did, usually.
There's a lot of weird setup going out through the episodes, and then maybe 6 or 7 episodes later, you're like, oh, okay, this joke paid off now.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's been too much time has passed and it doesn't have quite the impact that it might have had. I think some of the episodes are over long because they didn't have time constraints. I mean, a normal network television show is 22 minutes with all the commercials, so it's a lot tighter. This stuff, there are some jokes that they let go on too long, some things that weren't really working and they just gave it room. So some of the episodes are like 35, 36 minutes. I have to say, it's definitely worth watching, though. If you enjoyed the original series, you pretty much have to have watched the first 3 seasons to know anything of what's going on in the 4th season.
I can't imagine how you would have any idea what was happening.
No conception of what's going on. Warren, if you keep watching, I think you will enjoy it more.
I'll definitely eventually watch it.
Yeah.
It's been putting me to sleep.
And even the parts that I didn't really enjoy, I still admired what they were trying to do, I think. It's a very odd... This new way we have of entertainment consumption of Netflix and Hulu and all these things, it's kind of a brave new world of serialized television, and I don't know, it was a very interesting dynamic that they decided to go with. I think it was worth watching. I would recommend it to our listeners. Go watch the first 3 seasons if you haven't seen them yet, and then try the 4th and get through the whole thing. You have to watch the whole thing. It's like a novel.
It's like a great classic novel. I don't know, but the theory I've heard people say now is that maybe the show really did run its course in the original run, right? So the third season isn't as good as the first two seasons in the original series.
The third season, I think, suffered from the fact that it was up in the air as to whether or not they were going to get picked up by Showtime or other networks. And so...
Which I guess they did have the opportunity to actually go with Showtime.
Yeah.
They decided not to do it.
It's weird because I think it could have gone a couple more seasons, but I think it could have done that if they had known, okay, we're on this network and we have this contract or whatever. On the last season, it's like, if you knew you were going to end, for sure, you could have a great denouement, as you said, and tie up loose ends. But this kind of petered out and was kind of weird. It was still funny in the third season.
Yeah, it was still a good season, but and
the fourth
it's tricky
season,
with these shows. I mean, sometimes the chemistry that comes together and the writing that comes together and the energy that comes together, I mean, it happens for a while and then it stops. I mean, I was just talking about The Simpsons. The Simpsons isn't funny anymore. It hasn't been funny for more than a decade.
It hasn't been funny since like season 8.
But the show's still on the air. They're still just churning them out. And whatever that magic that happened when they got all those people, Dana Gould and Odenkirk and, Conan O'Brien, all those people together at that time and were making that really great show, that's gone now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will have to say Will Arnett and... David Cross were still quite hilarious in the show.
See, I feel like I haven't even seen
you haven't seen their like highlight episodes yet.
I barely see him at all. Yeah.
It gets better. Keep with it.
But the old show, there were a lot of jokes within the episodes of the old shows, and they're just great. And George Michael getting the marijuana, with the guy getting
hot cops.
The hot cops.
Yeah.
The whole thing is like incredible, because we actually were watching an old episode the other day at my house, and it was like, it's really great.
Oh, it's a great show.
Yeah.
Season 4 also, I think, is setting up. It definitely looks like more Arrested Development is going to be coming, whether it be in a movie or another series. I'm not sure, but they definitely left a lot of plot points open for things to continue. It was basically, that was the other thing too that was weird about the series, is that they had to catch up 7 years in the lives of these characters. With varying degrees of success.
Oh, it's a difficult task. Yeah. It's hard to do that.
So anyway, that's our Netflix pick for this week. Arrested Development seasons 1 through 3. Watch them if you haven't yet.
Really arcane pick.
And jump into season 4.
Oh, I got one too.
Okay.
Netflix original series, House of Cards.
I've been hearing about
with
this.
Kevin Spacey.
Okay.
I just burned through the whole thing.
Yeah.
In like 2 days.
What's the premise for it?
The premise is it's a United States congressman who thinks a new president's been elected. And he thinks
played
he's
by Spacey.
Played by Spacey. He thinks he's going to be appointed Secretary of State. He finds out he's not going to be, so he decides to go on this
on a bloody
elaborate plan that, of course, is ridiculous if you really think about it.
Yeah.
To get himself in the good grace of the president and to get back in the cabinet somehow.
Interesting.
It doesn't make that much sense what he's doing, but it's a pretty entertaining show, and Spacey's really good in it.
Right.
It's just kind of a smutty political drama.
So is it just one season?
So right now there's one season. It's like 13 episodes. Hopefully there's going to be a second season.
Okay.
They're saying they're going to make another one.
All right. So Arrested Development seasons 1 through 3 and season 4 and House of Cards are this week's Netflix picks.
This has been Netflix Picks on the Ward and Bradley Show.
So Warren, I have an interesting question for you. I'm not sure how much traction we'll get out of
Determine
this.
if it's that interesting. You have a question. Okay.
Okay. Well, God damn it! I keep bashing my microphone all over.
Well, you're
the place.
wearing these giant
I know,
boots.
these big clodhoppers. We won't get into that. I was standing around on my corner today, hoping to have a street freak approach me, which I've been striking out lately with the street freaks. I don't know what they're up to.
They must have gotten in league with the ladies, and now they're both turned against you.
I don't know. Actually, no, I've had a couple dates lately, so maybe that's looking up. But anyway, I saw a couple couples walking by.
Oh, yeah.
Now, sometimes I can sound unkind when I'm describing people, but usually I mean it in more of a humorous way. But there are a few couples I saw were so unattractive, and not to the point of just like, like deficiencies with weight or other things like that, but just almost like malformed or just the kind of thing that no matter what you did for them, no matter how thin or in good shape they were, no matter what clothes they were wearing, no matter what haircut they had, what car they were driving, they would be ugly. They were
Yeah.
just very unfortunate looking. And I'm seeing them walking by hand in hand. I saw several of these couples, and I'm like, okay, that's good. They've got each other. I don't know who else they could have other than each other. And the thought occurred to me, are these people actually attracted to each other?
Yes.
Or do they know that they're just so objectionable looking that this is all they can hope to get?
Yes, they're
and
attracted
just,
to each other.
Are they, though?
Yes.
'Cause if
This is the thing about being attraction. This is the thing where you
Tell
can...
me about attraction, Morgan.
I, for years, I've brought it up with the Daniel Craig thing, been trying to figure out what male attractiveness.
Yeah.
It's never going to make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And so I can only observe it as an outsider. And it's never going to make any...
Well, okay, saying that, though, you can look at Daniel Craig, someone who a lot of women are like, ooh, and we go, oh, what the hell's with Daniel Craig? We don't get it. But then there's people like Brad Pitt that we go, yeah, well, we can see him and know that he's attractive.
But the thing about attraction is that it's not necessarily what's going on outside or the person you're looking at. It's what's going on inside of you.
Yeah.
And it's almost impossible to get inside other people's heads. But I don't think that it's like, people who are dating supermodels are like the only people that are attracted to their girlfriends. You know what I mean? And the other people are like, oh, I can't believe I'm with this person.
Well, because, see, I'm the kind of person, I think if I were horribly ugly...
Yeah.
No, hold your tongue. If I were horribly ugly and I was dating, and the only girl I could get was horribly ugly, I just wouldn't get one.
No, I think this is what happens. I don't know when you're growing up and what you're attracted to is formed.
You think your expectations
your expectations are changed.
Attraction.
Your experiences change who you're attracted to and stuff. And it's like, I think people who maybe aren't, considered the most attractive people in the world have been hanging out and dating people who we might not consider the most attractive people in the world. And the thing is, they're just I think they are just as attracted to those people as like other people are attracted to.
Well, I hope so, because otherwise there's a lot of people who are very unhappy.
That's not what's going on. I'm absolutely sure that's not like everyone else is just really unhappy except for the few people that are dating attractive people.
Well, it's so in some ways you could fuck yourself over, because I've been pretty lucky or fortunate in some of the people I've dated.
Based on your own appearance and your behavior. Yeah, I would say so.
Because I've dated some really attractive people. And so I have kind of a standard, or I'm used to a certain standard in terms of people I date. And so maybe that's just going to set me up for disappointment for the rest of my life. I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe if I could be attracted to people who were less attractive, I'd be happier going forward.
But what is the thing about... How does attraction work inside of you?
I don't know.
This is the thing I wonder about you sometimes, and one of our other friends who are really like have this body dysmorphia with women. Sometimes they're like, "Look at that fat ass bitch," and I'm like,
"I do not."
That
say
woman weighs
that.
130 pounds.
I don't say that.
But you guys really have this thing where you're like, ugh. And sometimes I think that like you've got this thing in your head. I don't know what's going on, but you can't even see the person anymore. And I think that sometimes gets to be crippling. And I also know you have this thing where you're like, if you were blind, you were worried about like how attractive the girl, which doesn't make any sense either.
There's a great Curb Your Enthusiasm episode based upon that.
That's like a status thing, which doesn't really have that much to do with who you're attracted to.
See, I mean, if I were blind and if I had been blind from birth, attractiveness wouldn't enter
but
it at all.
But if you're blind now and tomorrow, then why would it matter?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Well, to me, it would be more about texture and touch and feel, I think.
Well, maybe there's a little bit more pounds that are nice to feel and touch.
No, I don't know. But no, we've talked before about how, in some ways I'm weirdly specific in what I'm attracted to, but then there's other times where I will be very attracted to someone who would not be considered attractive to the general population, perhaps. And I have no idea why or what happens.
But do you feel yourself fighting against that sometimes?
No. I mean, if I'm attracted to somebody, I'm attracted to somebody.
Okay.
It's not, I don't have this weird set of standards that I'm like, this is what I like and this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm completely open to being attracted to anything. Or, well, to anyone.
Okay.
Who's female.
Anything.
But... So, and sometimes I'm surprised by what I'm attracted to. Sometimes I'm disappointed that I'm not attracted. There have been girls who I've gone out with who are beautiful. And then for some reason, it's just, there's nothing there. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
But to get back to your original point, I think that, like, that D&D nerd who's dating the other D&D nerd is as hot for that girl as, like, any.
Well, I hope so. That makes me feel better, because I was looking at these people walking around, and I was just like, God, these poor bastards.
But I mean, that's just seeing it through your own lens, though, right?
Yeah, because I have different.
But that's the other thing that has to do with just getting back to enjoying life in general.
Yeah.
I don't think that if just having the hottest girlfriend, it doesn't really matter. It's all about having the girlfriend you're most attracted to.
I don't care at all what society might think of my girlfriend. It's not to me, it's not a status symbol to me. In fact, it's actually more annoying if everyone is like, oh, your girlfriend's so hot all the time.
Yeah.
As long as I find her attractive, that's all I care about. But it reminded me of conversations we've had in the past about, you're in prison, and since you can't have sex with women, you end up having sex with men. And we've said, no, we're not going to do that. So it almost reminded me of since I'm ugly, I can't have sex with people who are attractive. So
but even our own experiences of life have probably informed that in us.
Probably.
If we had grown up in a more I don't know, more savage people, maybe we would.
And maybe you and I have been able to be more selective about who we have sex with historically. It's not like we've been horribly deprived in that way in the past.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going to happen if I had been 18 and I had been locked up for beating some prostitute to death or something.
Yeah.
And I wasn't around females after that for 15 years. Right. Who knows what could happen?
You might be bottom bitch to Paco or something.
Well, I assume I'd be the top because I'm a big guy, but
the big teddy bear.
I mean, you can't ever see it through the person's perspective.
Yeah.
And the fact that person's actually having sex with that other prisoner means that they want to do it. I mean, the person that's dishing it out wants to do it, right?
Yeah, see, that's what always happens in my mind. It's I gotta have sex. And so you bend the little dude over and you're like, eh.
Exactly. The people that are doing it
I would
are
assume
feeling driven to do it.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, now that we've figured that out, I guess it's time that... Or do you have something more to say?
No, I just think that's just the nature of being happy, though, too, is taking what's around you and really liking it and relishing it and enjoying what you have, and not constantly trying to trade up constantly to a better version, because you're not going to be any happier.
Well, yeah, and that's one thing I'm totally not like that. If I'm dating somebody and I'm really attracted to that person, my eyes do not wander at all. No, seriously. I'm hey, I'm with somebody, I'm really attracted to this person, and I'm perfectly satisfied with
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Glad to hear it.
Maybe someday I'll be with somebody.
Yeah, unlikely.
All right, I think that's enough time for the Warren and Bradley Show this week. I have been your host, Bradley Victor.
And host, Warren Van.
Saying...
Brad still needs a girlfriend.
Oh.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast at warrenandbradley.com. The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I'm one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
And the other host, Warren Van.
It is episode 80 of the Warren and Bradley Show. I don't know why anyone cares which episode it is, but we're just rolling along. 80's a nice round number. It's some sort of milestone.
Have our downloads gone back up now that we're back on iTunes? No? No bounce back in the ratings?
Well, the thing is with that, I don't know how all this works. I don't know what the deal is with iTunes or anything, but I did it in such a way, for those of you who don't know, we got booted workings more than the anus itself.
You had some GI problems?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I was trying to pinpoint what the issue is, because I've normally, through most of my life, have had pretty much an iron stomach, where I almost never get an upset stomach, almost never have any gastrointestinal sorts of problems.
Yeah.
But for almost a week, basically everything I would eat, I would shit immediately. And not nice. We had the stool chart at one point.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the stool chart was called. The something stool chart.
Yeah.
Mine was on the lower end of the spectrum. More liquid than solid.
Yeah.
That's probably enough about that.
Now you're more solid? Is that what you're saying?
Now it's come back. It was like I had dysentery or something. And so I wasn't keeping any of my food and getting the proper nutrients from my food for quite some time. I was getting very weak, dizzy.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't good. Constantly upset stomach.
Maybe you had some sort of stomach bug.
But it lasted for almost a week, which seems
I've
way
had something
too
for the
long.
last 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been that severe, but I definitely have had weird stomach things going on.
Yeah.
And I can't quite pinpoint it, and I've been tired, and it's worn me out.
Well, I was wondering if it could be because of my change of diet, but I've been eating this way for several weeks, and the stuff I'm eating is fairly benign. It's not like...
Yeah, it's that stuff that isn't going to upset your stomach. You're not eating a lot of jalapenos.
No,
and
or curry.
Yeah,
and
curry.
Like that. It should be
yeah.
fine. But anyway, kind of recovering from that. So I wasn't getting out much during the week. Just I was still working and then just collapsing at home. But I have
Shitting all over yourself.
Shitting all over myself. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But I have a few little things that I can mention. On Friday, when I was driving home from work, now I'm sure some of our listeners might be aware, but those from other regions in the country might not. In Bellingham, there is a naked bike ride every year.
Oh, yeah.
And I was not aware... I was peripherally aware that there are people who get on their bikes and ride around naked in Bellingham. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing it for.
Yeah, because they're rebels or something.
Well, is it for some cause of some kind?
I don't think so. I just think it's woo, we're fun.
Look at me.
Yeah.
But I didn't know when it was taking place, but then I was driving home from work on Friday, getting on Holly Street, which is one of the main thoroughfares through downtown in Bellingham. And there was this crazy traffic, and I was trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
I would stop at a red light, and traffic was just hardly moving at all. So, of course, getting annoyed, what the hell's going on? And then find it off of iTunes for some reason. I'm not sure why. Our feed, our RSS feed was still working, so if you were subscribed through iTunes, you were directly connected to our feed, so you were still getting episodes. But if you tried searching for us on iTunes, we no longer existed. But anyway, I was able to resubmit our feed to iTunes in such a way that we didn't have to change the URL of the feed. So people who are subscribed are still subscribed. But it changes it so, old searches for us, we don't show up there. It's a different iTunes ID. All our reviews are gone. So I don't know if people who might have listened to the show in the past, who then thought the show disappeared, are
Come
still
back and look for
will
it.
be able to find it again. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know if we'll build more again. At this point, it doesn't really matter. We've got our core faithful that listens every week.
A very, very dense, small
Very
core.
It's like it's like the middle of a black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks everything into it. Suck being the operative word, but we're doing fine. Yeah, I'm recovering from some ass problems that I was having. I don't know how detailed we want to get
Did you
into
have a
this.
fissure?
But no. It was actually the internal. Finally, as I got up further, there were a bunch of naked people on bicycles just filling the entire 4 lanes. And that's just kind of a weird image to come home to. You worked all day, you're tired, I was kind of sick. It's just very surreal to see a bunch of naked people on bicycles filling 4 lanes of traffic.
Yeah. There are that many of them, huh?
There were a lot. I'd say, I don't know, close to 100. Not all of them were completely naked. A lot of chicks with just their boobs out.
Yeah.
A lot of their boobs were painted with various designs and motifs. Some dudes that did have their cock and balls out there.
Yeah.
And when you're on a bicycle seat, I don't know. It just
Get sodomized by the bicycle
it's
seat.
fucking weird.
Yeah.
I mean, fine, be naked. I don't understand. Is this to protest nudity laws, which, as far as I know, aren't necessarily that egregious around here? Like,
no, it's the same thing. Just like it's like, oh, I'm rebelling.
Yeah.
But then you're rebelling in a place where no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
So it's just like, how rebellious are you being?
Well, and
it's not like you're living in communist East Germany and you're like fighting against the Stasi or something. You're like just like riding a bicycle around being like,